Hello again, BookTube. This is my third attempt at a video. I'm going to try and keep going, and I've started to get some responses from the first two. I know it's early days yet. Anyway, I thought I'd do another Sound of May. One, I've done one already, but I've felt once it got up to 40 minutes it was going on long enough, but I still wanted to add something to it, thinking about it afterwards. I suppose you always get that, really. You do a video and then you think, oh, why didn't I say such and such? Because I don't have a script or anything, I'm just talking off the cuff. But my interest is traditional folk songs. I listen to all kinds of music, but traditional folk songs, particularly British Isles, but America as well. You know, songs that have been handed down. So folk music, but folk music is a broad term. And of course, I don't mean Tom Paxton, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan kind of idea of folk music, or protest songs or any of that. This is the traditional stuff. And if you know anything about that kind of music, you know everything happens in May. Nothing happens the rest of the year. Everybody just carries on, and then suddenly in May, everything happens. Apparently. As I walked out one May morning, so early in the spring, I placed my back against an old garden gate to hear my true lover sing. To hear my true lover sing, my boys, to hear what she got to say. For it's now very near 3/4 of a year since you and I together did stay. Come now, my love, and sit down by me where the leaves are springing green. For it's now very near 3/4 of a year since you and I together have been. I'll not come and sit down by you, nor yet any other young man, since you have been courting another pretty girl, and your heart's no longer mine. As I walked out one May morning, so early in the spring, I placed my back against an old garden gate to hear my true lover sing. So that's called The Old Garden Gate, and that's an English song. There are Irish and Scottish versions of it, well, particularly Irish versions of it, but I got that version from this book. Folk Songs collected by Ralph Vaughan Williams, or Rafe Vaughan Williams, published in 1983 and edited by Roy Palmer. So it's a collection of songs collected in England by Vaughan Williams around about 1900. So when he was doing it, you know, great composer, classical composer, but he wanted to revive the find an inspiration for the classical tradition. And at that time, 1900, there was a surge of nationalism, I suppose you could say. He wasn't nationalistic in any way, but it was about expressing national character, and it was going on around Europe generally, you know, Czechoslovakia and places like that as well. And suddenly these trained musicians, trained on Beethoven and Mozart, the classical tradition, found right on the doorstep there was another interesting source of music that was outside of that tradition, which it is really. Vaughan Williams was particularly adept at writing the music out, very skilled musician of course, but also appreciating the fact that the melodies, and he was very interested in melody, the melodies weren't within the classical tradition, they were often modal. So you have the modes, you know, particularly Dorian and Mixolydian modes, where the scales are slightly different. Mess about with the scales. Traditional singers do it instinctively. But anyway, that's a lovely book. It's a collection. You can read it, but it's just a source book for songs. And there's another one here. This is called Traditional Tunes, collected and edited by Frank Kidson. It was published in 1891. This is a facsimile. And yeah, it's the same sort of thing. Frank Kidson was even earlier than Vaughan Williams. He was around he was collecting in the 1870s, 1860s, 1870s. A founder member of the English Folk Dance and Song Society, and he lived here where I live, not in this house, but in Leeds. I live on the edge of Leeds. And there's some lovely songs in here as well. It's yeah. He collected all over the place. A lot of the time in Yorkshire, but he also went up into Scotland and found songs there. And you know, this was quite new to people. The ordinary people, though, had been singing these songs for hundreds of years probably. But the literary and classical people, the musicians and literary people, were far less aware of it. And Kidson used to take along his niece to write the tunes that he couldn't really write them out himself. There's a song in here which I love. It's called Spencer the Rover. He collected that. He calls it Doggerel. He wasn't impressed. I'll give you a little bit of it. I think that's the thing, though. If you look at the words of quite a lot of these songs, they do seem a little bit over sentimental. But when you sing them, they work, I think. I'll just give you a quick burst of this. I won't do the whole song. The song's quite long. It's a great song. These words were composed by Spencer the Rover, who travelled most parts of Great Britain and Wales. He being sore, it you said, which caused great confusion, and that was the reason a rambling he went. In Yorkshire near Rotherham, he had been on his rambles, and weary of travelling, he sat down to rest. At the foot of yonder mountain there runs a clear fountain, with bread and cold water himself did refresh. That's the start of it. It goes on that he has a dream, a nightmare, when he goes to sleep, about his family back home. He's left his family. In those days, workers often, especially agricultural workers, had to wander around looking for work. And so and eventually he goes back home and is welcomed and everything's all right. It has a happy ending. But that's Spencer the Rover. And yeah, nice song. But Kidson called it Doggerel, which is not a sign of approval, I suppose. John Martin recorded it, the rock sort of singer, songwriter. It's a nice version that he does, slightly different from that one. Kidson, again, he just wrote the melody lines down, and you have to make up your own mind about how to interpret it. Then there are other collections I've got. I've got lots of these song collections, but they're very useful. Penguin Book of English Folk Songs, it's a classic, brilliant. It's got some songs collected by Vaughan Williams again, and various others, Cecil Sharp and so on. Canadian book. No, the Penguin Book of Canadian Folk Songs. It is sometimes called the Canadian Book of Penguin Songs, but I think that's been a bit flippant. It's edited by Edith Falk. And I've met Edith Falk. She used to come over to England. She's Canadian. This was published in 1973. She was I wish I'd known her better, really. I did talk to her a bit, and I did one of her songs for her that she collected. She was a remarkable woman. She was an old lady when I met her, and she collected a song called The Plains of Waterloo. Now, The Plains of Waterloo was, we don't know who wrote it, but it was written shortly after the battle, or shortly after the death of Napoleon, which was 1821, so maybe 1825 or something like that. It's called a broadside ballad, written by an anonymous hack. Beautiful song, and it would have been written in England or Ireland or somewhere like that. British House. The Plains of Waterloo, and but Edith found it in Ontario in Canada. So it had migrated. I'd been taken, by settlers going across to Canada, and the version she got is, just absolutely beautiful. I just sing a little bit of it, just to give you a flavour of it. And it's unusual in folk songs that it modulates in the middle. It changes key slightly. Anyway. As I walked out on a fine summer's morning, view the gay banks of a clear pearled stream, I spied a lovely maid making sad lamentation, and threw myself in ambush for to hear her sad strain. Through the grove she marched along, made the valleys to ring. All the small feathered songsters around her they flew, crying the wars are all over, and peace it is restored again. But my Willie's not returning from the plains of Waterloo. Like that. It's called The Broken Token Ballad. Beautiful song. It was remarkable that it was preserved for. She collected it in the 1950s, so at least 130 years after it had been written, and people who remembered it carried on singing it. Fantastic. English Traditional Songs and Carols, collected by Lucy Broadwood. That's a good book. And then Scottish one, Odes, Bothy Songs and Ballads. It's from North East Scotland, Aberdeenshire, that area. Not many of these have the tunes in, but some great songs and some interesting ones. There's For All That and All That is in here. And of course, Robert Burns' great song, A Man's a Man, For All That. I won't sing that, but I do know it. That's what he based it on, this other song. I've got lots and lots of these books and searched them out. They're source material for me, but often they're quite interesting to read as well. And also what I do is tune books of instrumental music, and I suppose one of my prized possessions is this. This is the complete repository of original Scots tunes, Strathspeys, jigs and dances for the harp, pianoforte, violin and violoncello by Neil Gow and Sons. It's signed by Nathaniel Gow. Now, Neil Gow was 18th century fiddle, violin player and composer. It's highly respected now even. So the music, it's a tatty old book. It's been bound by a library or something, but these are the original. This is the original music from I think 1804, I think. And signed by Nathaniel Gow, who was his son. beautiful, really. It's amazing to get that. This old book. I'll play a bit of a tune by Neil Gow. Scott, the fiddle player, like I say. I've arranged it for the guitar. It's beautiful tune called Neil Gow's Lament for His Second Wife. Beautiful tune, Neil Gow's Lament for His Second Wife. Another of my favourite tune collections is this. This is the facsimile, the complete country dance tunes of Playford's Dancing Master. 1651 to 1728, it went through loads of different editions. And these are courtly dance tunes, really. More polite dancing. The sort of dances would have been played at, the ball in Pride and Prejudice. I was in Pride and Prejudice, the BBC production of it. I did some of the music for that and got to be on stage with Colin Firth and people like that, which was an amazing experience. But anyway, they chose music from that to if you've ever seen that production, and so I'm playing the flute, not the guitar. In that, I play the flute as well. But yeah, some gorgeous tunes, some Purcell in there and all sorts. They didn't have the same distinction between folk and classical music, I don't think, nowadays. There's a tune called "All in a Garden Green." That's called All in a Garden Green. So yeah, these are some of the books. I've actually written a book about music. I feel I can advertise it because you won't be able to get this anymore. I self-published it, and it's about Whitby Folk Festival. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed doing that. That was an experience, but it's sort of almost sold out anyway. Not that I produced that many of them. A book I forgot to mention last time that I really enjoy is, this is different, this is an autobiography about a musician, a man called Wilko Johnson. He was guitar player in Dr. Feelgood, and a marvellous character. Yeah, it's really good read. Don't You Leave Me Here. He got a serious illness and was given, a month or two to live, or weeks to live or something. And there's this amazing story. He was being interviewed on television, and he talked about this illness, and there happened to be a doctor watching who said, "I don't think that's right, that diagnosis is not correct." So he got in touch with him, and the diagnosis, he hadn't been getting the right treatment, so this doctor got him right, and he recovered. It's an amazing story. He's dead now. He has died a few years ago, but yeah, lovely character. He was in Game of Thrones. He played the hangman. He did have a fairly grim-looking face. I never met him or anything. I'd love to have met him, actually. It's great, isn't it, when you read a biography or an autobiography and you want to have met the person. He had a very unusual guitar style, electric guitar. What I liked about him as well, similar to another guitar player I like, Albert Lee, he didn't have these racks of pedals and all that sort of stuff. Somebody once said to him, "Where's all your pedals?" And he said, "What are you on about? I'm not a cyclist." I'm a guitar player. So, but Wilko, yeah, choppy, sort of aggressive guitar style, wonderful to hear, and quite unique. So I do listen to, a lot of this is obviously this traditional music, but I do try and have a wider listening scope, and sometimes I'll hear a song and it just grabs me, I heard that there's a song that I've only just recently started singing, but is it a pop song or a rock song? I don't think either of them describe it adequately, but it was written by R.E.M, written by Michael Stipe of R.E.M, and I heard it on the television. I heard them doing it on the telly, and I never really listened to them. I mean, good band, but I just had really discovered the 1990s. They were as their heyday. And anyway, they did this song, and it's a 4-piece band, but they did it just with piano and voice. Michael Stipe singing it, and Mike Mills playing the piano. And I listened to that. I thought that's a really strange song, but I wondered if I could do anything with it, and I thought, I think I can arrange the piano part for the guitar, and it turns out I'm doing it in the same key they do it in. I've got a similar range of voice to Michael Stipe. I do like his singing, so I'm starting that song again. The video camera just shut off before the end, which is a bit annoying. Anyway, this is Night Swimming by R.E.M. Night swimming photograph on the dashboard, taken years ago, turned around backwards so the windshield shows every street light reveals a picture in reverse. Still it's so much clearer. I forgot my shirt at the water's edge. The moon is low tonight. Night swimming deserves a quiet night. I'm not sure all these people understand. It's not like years ago, the fear of getting caught, the recklessness in water. They cannot see me naked. These things, they go away, replaced by everyday night swimming, remembering that night. September's coming soon, I'm pining for the moon. What if there were two side by side in orbit around the fairest sun? That tide bright forever drawn could not describe night swimming. You, I thought I knew you. You, I cannot judge. You, I thought you knew me. This one laughing quietly underneath my breath. Night swimming, the photograph reflects every street light, a reminder. Night swimming deserves a quiet night. So that's Night Swimming by R.E.M. Michael Stipe wrote that. Great song, fantastic. And yeah, I'll finish there. I'm doing it in the same key they do it in. I don't have the those are interested, the guitar is not in conventional tuning. It's in C, G, D, G, A, D. It's not tuned to a major chord or anything like that, but I play in this tuning all the time. I can play in other tunings, but I use this one. I don't use a capo. I'm playing any key in this tuning. So if you're interested in that sort of thing. Anyway, thank you very much. I will go on to other things and try and keep this going. Bye for now.